There are stories that have no protagonist. There are pilgrimages that begin not with the will, but with a small crack in the silence of the heart. A dusty wooden box is opened. Inside is a white chalice without any pattern and a piece of rotten paper, with only a few lines of brown ink remaining. When men forget how to pray with tears, take this chalice back to the place where it was first rejected. Welcome to Untold Stories, where faith becomes a living voice, whispering mystery, awakening wonder, and calling you into the fire, into the mission. Not all sacraments are celebrated. Some are performed when no one is looking. A young monk carefully wipes the dust away. As he moves the statue, a slight click is heard. It cracks inside. A piece falls out. Inside is an old leather tube tied with hemp rope. The monk opened it with trembling hands. In the tube was a strange handwritten map, red earth, marked in ancient Guizi. Below it was a faded brown line. He walked in the red dust. Cardinal Tagle. We cannot ignore it. Guizi is not a common language. It is an ancient prayer used in a liturgy that the Vatican discontinued in the 9th century. An old advisor spoke softly. The words "walk in the red dust" in Ethiopian oral tradition are a metaphor for forgotten holy places. At the back of the room, a middle-aged man with a stern face and few words, Father Michael. A cardinal pointed. He will go. Michael was silent, just nodded slightly. People looked at him with half-believing, half-wary eyes. Michael sat alone, rereading the expulsion letter from many years ago. On the table was a broken rosary. Old photo. Young Michael, holding a microphone, speaking against a decision of the guardian. Michael was suspended from the priesthood indefinitely for speaking against canon law, causing confusion among the faithful. Michael burns the letter, but it does not burn completely. A corner of the paper with the word vocation is still there. He looks into the mirror. Silent. Michael quietly enters the old chapel, looking back at the statue of the saint with a broken arm. He kneels, his eyes not pleading, but silent dialogue. If you are still there, don't let me go alone. The camera slowly moves back. Behind, the candlelight sways slightly, not because of the wind. Revelation does not come when we are ready. It comes when we think we are no longer worthy to hear it. The Ethiopian village was in the middle of a dry field. The houses were made of reddish-brown earth, and the dust was swirling lightly. The afternoon light shone through the curtains hanging in front of the windows. Michael stepped out of the old jeep. The people stopped all their activities. No one greeted him. No one stopped him. There was only heavy silence. An old woman shook her head, pulling the child into the house. A man drew something in ash on the door. A mute boy of about 10 looked at Michael without blinking, then disappeared behind the hill. Michael opened his notebook, wrote the first line. Day 1, no one said, but they knew. On the table, the rosary beads he carried shook gently without wind. He picked them up, silent. From afar, the sound of water flowing backwards, as if from low to high. The boy from yesterday stood there, signaling silence. Then he pointed to a small stone cavity. Inside was an inverted cross symbol, deeply engraved, covered in red dust. Michael approached. The light penetrates in the crevice behind, shining back through the inverted cross, forming a complete cross reflected on the opposite cliff. Michael whispering, "It's not the shape that changes, it's the light that changes the way we see." The boy looks at him, nodding slightly, his first emotional reaction. Michael tries pouring water from the pitcher. The water doesn't flow down, but floats, then flows back up to the mouth of the pitcher. He puts a page of the Bible on the fire. The paper burns at the edges, but the content is not lost. He prays, and the rosary begins to glow from the 13th bead. Michael writes everything down, but the handwriting becomes shaky. It's not that I don't believe. I'm afraid I've been believing in the wrong form all my life. He opens the Bible. He doesn't read. He just places his hand on the verse. Whoever wants to follow me must take up his cross every day. His face almost melts into darkness. A gentle breeze shakes the candle. Only the cross is lit. He was separated from the village after following the mute child for a while. The rain was pouring down. The wind was blowing hard. A branch of earth collapsed. He fell into a narrow crevice of rocks. Michael trudged on, his flashlight flickering. In the distance, a warm glow, like a candlelight. He approached and saw a black woman sitting by a rock, wearing a simple white dress, quietly wiping a white porcelain bowl without any patterns, with her bare hands, without a towel. Not a word, not looking up. Michael stood still. He walked closer, knelt down beside it, looked at the bowl. His hand slowly reached out to touch it, but it was shaking, not because of the cold, but because he couldn't. Michael whispering, "I just want to know who you are." The woman didn't answer, just continued wiping gently, rhythmically. Her hands were covered in dirt, but the bowl was whiter than before. Michael tried a second time. His hand shook even more. She finally raised her face. Her face was very much like the Virgin Mary of Ethiopia, but her gaze was not that of a distant deity, but that of a tired mother who was still patiently waiting for her son to return. Michael choked up. All the memories of his mother, of the church, of the rejected priesthood, came rushing back. Michael whispering, "You don't need me to believe. You just need me to sit down." The woman nodded slightly, without emotion but with weight. Michael sat down. His hands were still shaking, but for the first time he didn't try to reach the cup. She offered it to him, not forcing, but he didn't take it. He just bowed his head, tears falling onto his hands. The cup was still there. She turned away, walked away into the darkness and disappeared. No footsteps, no supernatural effect, just a white cup remained. In a circular pool of light, Michael sat alone. Light from the crevice above began to shine down. The rain had stopped. On the cliff behind him, the shadow formed the shape of a mother holding her child. The shadow of him and the cup. Grace does not come by reason. It comes when the soul stops running. The people gathered their things in a hurry, their eyes filled with panic. An old woman shouted, "The shadow is back, just like when my father disappeared." A man pointed to the rocky hill. "We leave before the shadow goes down the mountain." Michael stood between them, holding a white bowl in a cloth bag. He did not go. Michael climbed up the cracked stone steps. The wind blew so hard that he almost fell. At the top, a large rock cracked in two. In the middle of the crack, a rosary of half-burnt wooden beads, black but not melted. He knelt down. He placed the bowl beside him. The sunset shone in his eyes. His hands clenched the burnt rosary. Michael whispering, "Why should I see this if I don't understand it?" A tear fell into the dust, very lightly, but at that moment the wind stopped. Michael still bowed his head. He didn't see. The boy came closer, touched Michael's shoulder. Michael looked up. His eyes were red but full of calm. The boy spoke for the first time. His voice was soft, hoarse, but clear. "The cup is here." There was a long silence. Michael did not ask again. There was no need to ask again. Below, the shadow of the burning rosary reflected like a distorted halo. The wind rose again, but it was soft now, like a breath. Michael looked up at the sky. No more demands. Only eyes that shone with the light of those who had walked through fire, and knew that silence was a form of trust. The boy took his hand, leading him down the mountain. The burning rosary was still there, but one had begun to change color. I waited for an answer, but what I got was a pair of small hands, and a sentence that did not come from reason. Maybe God did not need me to understand. Maybe I just needed to cry. Michael entered, alone, no guards, no announcement, only the white chalice wrapped in cloth, held close to his chest. He walked slowly. Each step echoed softly in the empty sanctuary. The wind blew softly through the narrow door, creating a sound like the steady breathing of someone still keeping vigil in the darkness. Michael gently placed the white chalice on the cold stone table, taking a small bottle of water from his pocket, pouring it into the chalice. At first the water was clear. There was only a slight sigh from Michael himself. He knelt down. His hand lifted the chalice, trembling slightly but not hesitating. He took a small sip, closed his eyes, not to feel, but to receive. A drop of holy wine fell onto the old cassock. not spreading, but as if it had seeped into the stone. The candlelight from the corner of the room swayed once. The light gently passed over the statue, where the broken arm of the day was gradually appearing. No glow, no change in matter. It was there as if it had never been lost. Michael didn't see. He was still bowing his head in prayer, and there was no need to see. I don't ask for miracles. I just pray that I won't be the one who misses a miracle when it comes in silence. The camera slowly pulls away, looking down from above at the altar, the white chalice resting, the saint standing intact, a soft light coming from the side of the chapel. A young monk enters, sees that Michael is gone. He steps forward, touches the white chalice. Still clear, but the light shining through now creates a circular halo like a cross on the stone floor. No one says anything. No one announces the miracle. There are miracles that don't prove anything. They just come to remind you someone still loves you silently, even though you don't ask.